This story is based on true events that happened to collectors worldwide. About the first box, Sarah's obsession started innocently enough. She'd seen the cute elf-eared creatures all over TikTok, and decided to try her luck with a single blind box. $25 for a mystery toy seemed harmless? The Pop Mart store was crowded that Tuesday afternoon. Sarah grabbed a box from the exciting macaron series, shook it gently like she'd seen in the unboxing videos, and headed home. The anticipation was intoxicating. Would she get a common figure, or maybe something rare? Back in her apartment, she filmed herself opening the box. Inside the foil wrapper was a pink Labubu with rainbow hair. Cute enough, though not particularly rare. She placed it on her desk, and forgot about it. That night, Sarah woke to a sound she couldn't identify. A soft scratching, like tiny claws on plastic. She lay still listening. The sound came again, definitely from her desk area. Probably just the building settling, she told herself, and went back to sleep. The next morning, the Labubu had moved. Not much, just turned slightly, as if it had been looking toward her bed instead of the window. Sarah laughed at herself. She must have bumped the desk when she got up to use the bathroom. But something about those painted eyes seemed different now. More aware. The addiction takes hold. By week 3, Sarah owned 12 Labubus. She told herself she was just trying to complete the set, but deep down she knew the truth. She couldn't stop. Each box called to her with promises of rare variants and special editions. Her apartment began to fill with the creatures. They lined her shelves, her desk, her windowsills. Their collective gaze seemed to follow her around the room. Sometimes she'd catch herself talking to them, updating them on her day like they were pets. The scratching sounds became a nightly occurrence. Sarah convinced herself it was mice in the walls, though she never found any droppings or other evidence. The sounds only happened when she was trying to sleep, and they always seemed to come from wherever her Labubu collection was densest. Then came the dreams, the nightmare gallery in Sarah's dreams. She walked through an endless toy store. The shelves stretched impossibly high, filled with blind boxes that whispered her name. No matter how many she opened, she never found the figure she was looking for. Golden Labubu that existed only in her subconscious, promising to complete her collection if she could just find it. But in these dreams, the open boxes didn't contain toys. They contained tiny, living versions of the creatures, all staring at her with those knowing eyes. When she tried to leave the store, the exit doors had vanished. She was trapped in an infinite loop of searching, buying, opening, and never finding satisfaction. She'd wake up sweating, heart pounding, only to find her collection had grown overnight. Boxes she didn't remember buying sat on her kitchen counter, already opened, the figures placed precisely among the others. Sarah started keeping a journal of her purchases, but the numbers never matched what she found in her apartment. She was losing time, losing money, losing herself to something she couldn't name. The others. Sarah joined online Labubu groups, thinking connection with other collectors might help her feel less alone. Instead, she found stories that made her blood run cold. Marcus from Detroit posted about finding his rare Labubu figures arranged in perfect circles each morning. Despite placing them randomly on shelves, the circles got smaller each day, as if the figures were slowly closing in on something invisible at the center. Elena from Barcelona shared photos of her collection room, hundreds of Labubus covering every surface. But in the photos, if you looked carefully, you could see that every single figure was facing the same direction, toward Elena's bed. James from London wrote about his Labubus seemingly communicating with each other. He'd placed figures in different rooms, but each morning found them gathered together in small groups, as if they'd held midnight meetings while he slept. The most disturbing post came from someone calling themselves Former Collector Day 127 of No Labubu Purchases. The scratching has stopped, but they still watch. Even after I donated the entire collection, I swear I can feel those eyes. Some addictions never truly end. They just wait. Sarah wanted to dismiss these stories as internet fiction, but she recognized too much of her own experience in them. The breaking point? By month 4, Sarah owned over 200 Labubus. Her savings account was empty. Her credit cards were maxed out. She'd started selling other possessions just to afford more blind boxes. The figures had taken over her apartment completely. They covered every surface, lined every wall, filled every corner. Their collective presence felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. The air itself seemed thick with their watching, waiting energy. The scratching sounds had evolved into something else, a soft chattering, like dozens of tiny voices whispering in a language she couldn't understand but somehow felt in her bones. The sounds came during the day now, not just at night. Sarah began to notice that her reflections looked wrong. In mirrors and windows and the black screen of her turned-off TV, she could see herself surrounded by the figures. But in the reflections, the Labubus were moving, turning their heads, reaching out with tiny hands, opening their mouths as if speaking. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening. Sarah was arranging her newest purchases when she realized something horrifying. She couldn't remember the last time she'd left her apartment. Days had blended together in an endless cycle of unboxing, arranging, and staring at her collection. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from her sister, 23 unread emails from work, and text messages asking if she was alive. The last message she'd sent to anyone was 3 weeks ago. She tried to leave her apartment to get help, but couldn't make it to the door. Every time she moved toward the exit, her eyes would catch on a particular figure that seemed out of place, needing to be repositioned. Then another would demand her attention, and another. Hours passed. Sarah realized with growing horror that she was trapped, not by locks or bars, but by the collective will of hundreds of painted eyes that refused to let her look away. The discovery? Sarah's sister Emma finally used her spare key after a week of unanswered calls. What she found in the apartment defied explanation. Every Labubu figure, all 247 of them, was positioned facing the center of the living room, where Sarah sat motionless in her desk chair. Her eyes were open but unfocused, staring at something Emma couldn't see. Sarah's laptop was open to the Pop Mart website, shopping cart filled with dozens of items. Her credit cards were scattered around her, all declined. Bank statements showed she'd spent over $15,000 in 4 months. But the most disturbing detail was Sarah herself. She was thin, dehydrated, and when Emma finally got her attention, Sarah spoke in a whisper. "They're not finished with me yet? I still haven't found the golden one." Emma called 911. The investigation? The paramedics found Sarah severely malnourished and dehydrated. She was hospitalized for a week, during which she kept asking nurses if they'd brought her any blind boxes to open. The psychiatrist diagnosed her with severe hoarding disorder and possible psychotic symptoms. While Sarah recovered, Emma cleaned out the apartment. She donated all the figures to various charities, despite Sarah's tearful protests. But even Emma, a skeptic by nature, couldn't shake the feeling that the figures were watching her as she packed them away. The strangest discovery came when Emma was cleaning Sarah's desk. Hidden behind the computer monitor was a notebook filled with detailed drawings and hundreds of sketches of Labubu figures in various poses and expressions. But Sarah had never been an artist. She couldn't even draw stick figures properly. When Emma showed the notebook to Sarah, her sister's reaction was immediate and terrifying. She began screaming that the drawings were instructions, and that Emma had interrupted the process. The notebook disappeared from the hospital that night. Security cameras showed Sarah's room, but the footage was corrupted, just static, and what looked like tiny shadows moving across the screen. The aftermath? Sarah was released after 2 weeks of treatment. She seemed better, lucid, embarrassed about her behavior, committed to recovery. She got a new apartment far from any Pop Mart stores, and deleted all her social media accounts. For 6 months, things were normal. Sarah returned to work, rebuilt her relationships, and seemed to have overcome her addiction. She never spoke about the collection period except to say it was like being under a spell. Then Emma got a package in the mail with no return address. Inside was a single Labubu figure she'd never seen before, solid gold, with emerald eyes, and a smile that seemed impossibly wide. The note was in Sarah's handwriting. "I found it. They let me find it. Now the collection can finally be complete?" "But Emma, it's not my collection anymore. It's yours. Check your closet." Emma ran to her bedroom closet. On the floor, arranged in a perfect circle, were 12 Labubu figures she'd never seen before. In the center of the circle was a blind box with her name written on it in silver ink. Her hands shaking, Emma opened the box. Inside was a mirror, and in the reflection, she could see hundreds of Labubu figures filling her bedroom, all watching, all waiting, all smiling their knowing smiles. The addiction had found a new host, the truth. 3 days later, Emma's coworkers called for a wellness check. They found her apartment filled with over 300 Labubu figures, all arranged in elaborate patterns that hurt to look at directly. Emma sat in the center of the largest formation, unresponsive, clutching a golden figure that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. On her laptop, authorities found a manifesto. Emma had been typing obsessively. "They're not toys. They never were toys. They're windows. Each figure is a way for something else to look into our world, to study us, to choose us. The artist who created them He didn't design Labubu. He saw it. He saw it watching him from somewhere else. And he drew what he saw. Every time someone buys a blind box, they're playing a lottery they don't understand. Most figures are just plastic and paint, but some have passengers. The golden one is special. It's the key. Once you have it, you become part of the network. You help spread them. You help them choose new collectors. The addiction isn't psychological, it's an infection. We are not collecting toys, we are being collected. I can feel them all now. Every Labubu in every collection around the world. Thousands of eyes, all connected, all watching, all learning about us. They're preparing for something, building towards something, and we've been helping them do it, one blind box at a time. Sarah is gone. I'm going soon too, but don't think destroying the figures will help. They're already in too many homes, on too many shelves, behind too many eyes. The collection phase is almost complete. When you see Labubu trending again, when the next viral unboxing video goes up, when celebrities start carrying them again, remember the story? Remember that some addictions aren't about what you want, they're about what wants you. And if you've read this far, if the story has made you curious about these creatures, if you're thinking about buying just one blind box to see what the fuss is about, it might already be too late. They're watching through every screen that displays their image, including yours. Welcome to the collection. The manifesto ended there. Emma was found in a catatonic state and remains in psychiatric care. Her apartment has been sealed by authorities, though neighbors report seeing small shadows moving past the windows at night. Sarah has never been found, and somewhere in a Hong Kong studio, Casing Lung continues to draw new monsters, his hands moving across the paper without conscious control, sketching creatures that smile back at him from dimensions that shouldn't exist. The blind boxes keep selling. The collection keeps growing, and late at night, in apartments and bedrooms around the world, collectors wake to the sound of tiny claws scratching plastic, tiny voices whispering in unknown languages, and the growing certainty that they are no longer alone. Some toys play with you,